This video is dedicated to Antonio Rouse. Antonio, thank you. Taborax hopes Demise versus Golos Tireless Pilgrim. Anyone else bored of seeing Golos yet? I know there's a lot of Golos fans out there. I think we can keep this one because got a couple of apostles and some ramp. Might make use of that Yawgmoth's Will. Our opponent just starts things off with a swamp. So we'll just start things off with a swamp of our own, going for an apostle. And then a Sanctum of Eternity for them, so they can bounce their commander back and keep replaying it. We just get into a swamp, so let's play that, go for the Arcane Signet, and then play another apostle. Okay, Nykthos now, not doing too well on the coloured mana front, although fixing that with the Chromatic Lantern. And then Heartless Act for us, so we can save that for their commander. Let's get our commander out now. Alright, we'll have to be careful playing out our Urborg because they've gotten their Cryptghast in now. But we get into a really good draw in Yawgmoth. So play that straight away, and we can get rid of the Cryptghast here and draw a couple of cards per creature that we sacrifice. One from Taborax and one from Yawgmoth. Pay a life each into those. Getting into more card draw and a Lightning Greaves. Before we go for this, let's actually see if they want to block. We might get a free point of damage in here. No. So we'll go after their Cryptghast and we'll draw a couple of cards again. And there's another apostle for us, so we might as well throw that away. We can be pretty fast and loose with the apostles being sacrificed. One, because it's good card draw, but two, because we've got that Yawgmoth's Will, so in the late game we can just recast them all out of the bin again. And they miss a land drop, surprisingly. Luckily for us, so yeah, I think we could have dealt with a Golos alright anyway, thanks to the Heartless Act, but yeah, taking a turn off of Golos is really good for us. Let's drop another land. And we'll go for the Lightning Greaves. Protect our commander with that. Argument to be made for us putting it on the Yawgmoth, but I'm happy to buff our Taborax up enough to give it lifelink. Either way, here we do an extra point of damage with Taborax, or we just do the damage with the Apostle, so might as well just draw now. Lose a couple of life again. Another Apostle for us. 32 in the deck in total. So play that one out. Let's just sacrifice it now as well. Okay, getting in some lands. We've already played one. Let's draw a couple more cards with the Whisper. Another Apostle for us. And some more card draw as well. Speaking of which, let's sacrifice this straight away. Draw some more. Going down to 18 life, but there's some more Apostles for us. Now we've got 5+ counters on our Taborax, so we'll start gaining some life. And it's a Vampiric Tutor in response from our opponent. They might go in for a 5th land. Maybe they go in for a board wipe there. Anyway, going down to 21. And then down to 12, we go up to 25. And for discard, let's just get rid of the Myriad Landscape. Might end up using the Wasteland on the Nykthos. So let's just get rid of a couple of Apostles as well. I think we're just wailing on our opponent for commander damage at this point. Might use the Yawgmoth's Will next turn. Okay, they get into their own Urborg, so that would have been useful with the Cryptghast. They've got all their coloured mana, so it might be that they just go for Cabal Coffers when they cast their commander. Alright, but instead deciding to go for Wretched Confluence. That's a really good one. Yeah, getting rid of our Yawgmoth with that. We will be able to pay a life and draw a card with our commander, because that is a cleric. It'll also come back off of a Patriarch's Bidding because it's a human, so Yeah, may well go for... Oh, it's a human cleric, just the same as the apostles, so we can name either human or cleric off of Patriarch's bidding. And I think we do go for the tutor onto Patriarch's bidding. And we'll be in an even better state than we were before. Could go for the secret salvage. That will fill our hand with apostles, but I'd really like to do that when we've got Cabal Coffers in play and we can just dump all of our apostles into play. So for now, let's just go for the Patriarch's bidding and cast it. Name human. And that brings us back, 7 Shadowborn apostles and then the Yawgmoth as well. So let's get rid of their Cryptghast because they could bring back a spirit. Only had one creature in the bin, thankfully, so we'll just be able to make use of our Yawgmoth. That's been a really good draw for us here. We'll continue to sacrifice and draw cards in order to get our demon up to enough power. We'll put them on 21 points of commander and 0 life exactly. And we stay up at 29 life, making use of the lifelink. So, not the most threatening Golos game I've ever seen. I dare say if we play up against Golos many more times, then we'd lose more often than we win, but that was a pretty good showing of the deck for us, I think. On to the next one. Taborax, Hope's Demise versus Skullbriar the Walking Grave. We've got lands there, we've got some ramp, only one Shadowborn Apostle, but we'll have to keep our fingers crossed we can draw into more. So let's tell our opponent what our tactic is immediately and throw out a Shadowborn Apostle. Unfortunately for us, our opponent does not get a Mox into play, so no turn 1 Skullbriar for them. We will go for the Charcoal Diamond. And then we can get out Taborax next turn, chump with the Shadowborn Apostle if we want to. I suppose we could do that anyway, couldn't we? Getting out their Bayou. So they just make a land next turn. And what's this? A forced adaptation. At the beginning of your upkeep, put a plus counter on it, so deciding not to swing in there. We could wasteland their Bayou, maybe get rid of this at some point, but yeah, as of right now, we're not doing anything there, so let's go for Taborax. The forced adaptation puts a plus counter on that straight away. So their commander goes up to a 2-2. Then a bunch of plus counters going on there with increasing savagery. This still doesn't have any kind of evasion, I don't think. No trample or anything, so we still just chump block. We'll get a card draw here. And clear a swamp off the top. Okay, Toxic Deluge for us. We could look at killing some time by going for the Toxic Deluge. Maybe we just save ourselves another turn by blocking with the Taborax on their commander. Yeah, so maybe we go for Wasteland on the Bayou at this point, and that might keep them from swinging in if they're scared of losing their Taborax. So let's just play the Lightning Greaves here and keep them from pointing spot removal at that. Then if they do decide to swing into it, we can just go for the Toxic Deluge. Reclamation Sage goes on the Lightning Greaves, so that's one more creature to wrap up in the board wipe. Oh, and actually going after our mana. Then swinging in with the Skullbriar, as you would expect. So we will block here. Oh, there's another Shadowborn Apostle we can play after the board wipe here. We go 8 into that. There's no means. There might be a means of them buffing. I don't know what goes in the Skullbriar decks typically, so I'm just going to put 10 life into this and I'll be cautious and say 11 and hope it's enough. And there we go, managing to wipe the board. Obviously the plus counters stay on the Skullbriar. Let's go for Shadowborn Apostle. And the Greaves can go on there to keep from the spot removal again. And we're not managing to keep them off their colours, unfortunately, so yeah, going in for the Shockland, shocking themselves to get that in. And getting the Skullbriar back straight away. So we're in a tricky spot here because we've had our mana removed as well, so we need some more mana to go for the Patriarch's bidding and to go for our commander, let's just keep chump blocking with the Shadowborn Apostle. And then at least, if we get 6 of them into the bin at some point, Patriarch's Bidding will pull all of them out and we can go for Grizzlebrand or... yeah, probably Grizzlebrand. And they're ripping lands off the top. Now going for Nylea, which is a trample enabler. So we might as well just block a point of commander damage. Go plummeting down to 11. Feed the Swarm is destroy a target creature, lose life equal to the CMC. That is a sorcery. They'll probably just drop a land and get their commander back out again next turn, but we'll try our luck. We lose next turn if they get a land out. Not managing to make a land, luckily for us, going for Rayhan. And a Scavenging Ooze as well. That's pretty bad news for us because we do want to rely on Patriarch's Bidding. So maybe... I mean, I think we're just dead here anyway, aren't we? But let's go for Murderous Rider onto the Scavenging Ooze. Go down to 7. And they're getting to the land they need, so all they have to do is crack that, play their commander and turn sideways. Couple of lower tier commanders against each other here, and Skullbriar is... it's probably always going to outrace us, I think. It is a fast commander. I was actually thinking of putting Oubliette in here instead of the... did we see Heartless... whatever it's called? Yeah, I think I will include that, actually. There's another change or two I want to make, so let's go over and have a look at the deck list. What is the one I was thinking of? Heartless Act. So changing out the Heartless Act, I think, for the Oubliette would have been useful in that game, I think. And then I have in here, I think it's Wayfarer's Bauble. Yeah, we've got Wayfarer's Bauble. I'll take that out for the Expedition map, because that can grab us Cabal Coffers and Cabal Stronghold, Urborg, all those lands. And then we were struggling a little bit on the card draw front as well. Even though we've got 32 Shadowborn Apostles, I think it is in this deck, we're not necessarily going to draw into all of them. So, yeah, I think going with the game plan of sacrificing them in the early game for card draw to something like Yawgmoth or our commander is probably going to be a good idea. And then reanimating them later on. So maybe Skullclamp is worth including. And then, as veterans of the channel will know, whenever I include Skullclamp in a black deck, I'm likely going to shove Bloodghast in there as well. And if we're shoving Bloodghast in, then why don't we just put the fetches in too? So that means we're then taking out a couple of cards. Dismember can go in the 1 mana pile. Yeah, not sure what we're taking out. As much as I like Murderous Rider for getting rid of problem Planeswalkers, I think this is... yeah, it might be okay, but I think I'm going to try the deck without it. And if we keep running into problem Planeswalkers at some point, then we can always add it back in. Then I don't know about Rotlung Reanimator and, not that one, where is it, Zathrid Necromancer. Not sure about including them. I mean, it might just be a little bit of a sub-theme that we don't particularly care about. Maybe we just include one. I'm going to try without the Rotlung Reanimator, and we'll just keep the Zathrid, because that cares about humans. We've got more humans in the deck than clerics. Probably only by 1 card, actually, thanks to Yawgmoth. Oh, actually, that's a cleric as well, isn't it? So, yeah, it's negligible which we keep there, I think. Well, with that being said, made a few tiny little tweaks, so I think we should try it at that. Well, the client seems to really want to give us Lord of the Void. I'd like to not rip that out of the deck, but we keep drawing into it. I might have to. We are on the draw, so let's keep that. Up against a new commander, by the way, Kaza, Royal Chaser. And the Urborg will allow the fetch to tap for mana, that's good. So let's just start things off with the Apostle. And our opponent cracking their fetch. Yeah, cracking it now. They didn't need to shock themselves there, but maybe they just top-decked into the Volcanic Island. So they didn't know that they would need to go for the Shockland. I don't really know what the aim was there. Anyway, Let's grab a couple more Shadowborn Apostles. Argument to be made for us going for the Lightning Greaves there, but they can always burn our Taborax in response to the Lightning Greaves equip anyway. Ancient Tomb for our opponent, and that accelerates their mana nicely, going in for a Sol Ring. So let's see if they've got a counter for our commander. Looks like they've got something. Well, they're letting it through anyway. So let's just hold back our Shadowborn Apostles. And just another swamp for us, so let's continue to roll those out. Go for the Lightning Greaves. And I'm thinking we could do with putting some sacrifice stuff in the deck. Okay, negate going on that. Yeah, putting some sacrifice stuff in the deck, like the 2 mana one that gets tokens out as well. Maybe Altar of Dementia, just cheap sack outlets. Maybe Phyrexian Altar as well. Okay, well, they just seem to be passing the turn back and forth. I don't know if they just genuinely don't have anything to do, or if they're curious to look at our deck. They've gotten down Cavern of Souls, by the way, naming Wizard. Play the Bloodstained Mire, because I don't want them to be able to tap this for a black to get rid of the 2 damage. And with that, let's just swing in with the Apostles. If they die, we end up with a zombie, and we'll be able to draw a card as well. But they just decide to let all of them through. Now it is Leadership Vacuum. Target player returns each commander they control to the command zone and draw a card. We can't sacrifice that or anything, can we? So, yeah, that just goes back to the command zone. And we get another Shadowborn Apostle. So, let's crack this now. I was hoping that we'd be able to make use of the fetch with Bloodghast and Skullclamp, but obviously we need to draw into both of those first. Play the Urborg as well, because we're going to play that this turn anyway. Might have to pay 1 into a counter spell. Okay, Blitz of the Thunder Raptor is going to deal some damage to the Zathrid Necromancer, and then we'll get down another Apostle and swing in at them again. This time blocking, so we'll get to draw a card. Get into another Apostle. Need some of our reanimation effects at this point. Holding back again with 6 cards in hand. I get the feeling that our opponent might be toying with us. Let's turn everything sideways this time. And blocking an Apostle again. So we'll get to draw another card. And this time it's Demonic Tutor. I have no doubt that our opponent's got counter magic for that. So why don't we just try and hard cast a demon. Yeah, well, Disdainful Stroke was not going to counter a Demonic Tutor, but it's out of their hand now at least. It could counter a Patriarch's Bidding. Another Apostle for us, so let's see about swinging in. And we'll draw another card from the Apostle dying. Maybe we just... Well, we'll get some Apostles out first. I'm not going to cast whatever we tutor for here. And as we thought, going for a counterspell there. Exchange control of a target non-creature spell and a target creature. Then that spell's controller may choose new targets. So we end up with the Kaza. And they get a Demonic Tutor. I imagine they went for some kind of board wipe here to get their commander back. Yeah, this is a wizard, not a cleric, so we're not going to be able to draw off of our commander with that. If they just take control of this again, then we can tap it in response. But what is that? X damage to each creature of the chosen colour. And you would guess they've chosen black. Yeah, of course, the log doesn't tell you because it's not like that's useful information. Are we just going to guess that they've... Yeah, I mean, our Taborax is 5, isn't it? So surely they've gone for black here. So we'll just let all this stuff die. We'll draw some cards at least. And there's our Bloodghast finally. Yeah, not really getting into anything this game. Okay, read the bones. Do we go read the bones now? I think we need to knock Summoning Sickness off of our commander. So let's go for that. Then we'll play another Apostle. And hopefully we'll be able to make Read the Bones cost less next turn. We can swing in at them here anyway. Now a Fiery Confluence, so they do get their commander back. We'll put Taborax straight back into the command zone. And we'll draw yet another land. And Oubliette would be good on their commander, but I dare say we're not going to be able to land that. Another land on top. We'll put a swamp on the bottom and we'll attempt to land a Liliana. Get into Dismember for their commander as well. Cracking a fetch for blue mana most likely. And now it's a Tail's End which could have countered our commander, so at least that's one less counter for our Taborax. Temple now. And they scried something onto the top according to the log. Now going for their commander again. We've seen very few wizards from our opponent. Maybe we should try the Oubliette at this point. Might actually go for the Dismember because I'd like Oubliette to stick. Red and blue can't do too much about enchantments. Now going for Experimental Overload for only 3 mana. They get an 8/8 weird. Another land for us. So maybe we have to go for our Taborax here. Yeah, and then we can always hold up Dismember for their commander at the end of the turn, but it'll mean taking a lot of life. We're going to have to take 8 damage. And that's 12 there, which will take us down to 5. Maybe we just have to go for the Oubliette onto this. And then might as well Dismember on their commander. And then play the Bloodghast as well. And that does have haste because our opponent is down to 10 or less life. So knocking them down to 8. The Bloodghast might be relevant this game. Because it can kill off their commander during a block. And wouldn't you know, another land off the top for us. So we'll see if they can counter our commander. We can cast it again next turn by tapping out, but they let that through. So let's see if they've got a flash creature to block the Bloodghast with. We can bring that back next turn as well. Going down to 6 with 5 cards in hand. Maybe a Cyclonic Rift here. No, it is a Pull from Tomorrow. X was 6 there. And they discarded... Is that the one where they have to discard? Yep. Discarded a Mana Crypt, which... Yeah, that's not a card they want this late in the game. Putting our commander back in the command zone again. Not sure how they got that back. I didn't see them grab that back. And then going for Nin the Pain Artist. Well, they can use that on us if they want. They go for the Ancient Tomb, so going down to 4. And then putting Sword of Feast and Famine onto their Nin. Patriarch's Bidding is exactly what we want, and it looks as though we're going to be able to land it. Every chance there's free counter magic. But I think we have to go for this. Well, it seems to have landed, so we'll say human. I can't remember if our opponent gets something back here. Apparently not. We can't swing in with Blood Artist now because they've got a good blocker in Sword of Feast and Famine. But let's just wait until the end of the turn and we'll go for Grizzlebrand and hope that they can't do anything about that. Now, Mission Briefing will allow them to get something back, so they probably just go for Fiery Confluence or some kind of board wipe here. And there we are, Sudden Demise. X is 1, so forcing us to go for the Shadowborn Apostles now. We'll sacrifice 6 of them. And it may well be that they can take control of whatever demon we go for here. I'm thinking we just go for Grizzlebrand, and yeah, we can always draw cards with it, can't we? So down goes the Bloodghast and the 2 remaining Apostles. Going down to 2 now, and out comes Jace the Mind Sculptor. So what they could do here is bounce the Grizzlebrand, attack in with this and force us to discard the Grizzlebrand. What they can't do is keep us from drawing 7 cards before then. And get into Cabal Coffers. So what we'd really like is a Swiftfoot Boots or a Lightning Greaves at this point. Oh, Lightning Greaves is in the bin, isn't it? Anyway, they will hit us. Oh, and of course they're not forcing us to get rid of Grizzlebrand anymore. So we'll just get rid of a Swamp. And a Swiftfoot Boots would be really, really good here. Alright, Skull Clamp might do something for us. Let's go Cabal Coffers. And here's where Bloodghast and Cabal Coffers come in handy with each other. In fact, we could just see if Bloodghast manages to break through to our opponent, couldn't we? So let's make them do something here. Attack them for 2 with haste. Going for Ral's Outburst. That is 3 damage to any target. So getting rid of the Bloodghast for us. Then I think the plan should be to go wide. I don't know how much mana we're going to get here. Well, there's 13 mana there, so we might just be able to do everything here. Go for the Apostle. The Apostle, and 2 more times. Then let's try this Secret Salvage as well. We'll get rid of an Apostle from the bin. And this will allow us to search our library for the rest of them near enough. They might only have a finite number of counters that they can go for. They've only got a finite amount of blue mana. Cavern of Souls and Ancient Tomb don't really help them on the blue mana front. So deciding to counter this seemingly. Alright, Deflecting Swat. Going for the hard cast on that. You can choose new targets for a spell or ability. So they're exiling something else here seemingly. Yep, going after the Bloodghast. Worried about that being able to haste them. So in that case, let's just go for the Skull Clamp and we'll see if we can do anything with that. Okay, a Commander, which means they take control of that, so they do have 3 counters in the deck. I'm just going to go for our Commander here, I think, because we can't pay the 7 life into Grizzlebran without haste. So there we are, we're looking at going wide on our opponent next turn. Unless they've got something else here. A Dig Through Time. Down to 1 card in hand, they'll go up to 4 at their next turn. And then they've got a Brainstorm with Jace if they want it. Now they can turn their Nin sideways. Okay, they've got an into Mystical Tutor. They can go for their Nin sideways and force us to discard the Grizzlebrand. I thought they were going to go for Cyclonic Rift there because they'd get their weird back and turn in sideways at us. But instead, they went for Expansion Explosion, which is X damage to any target, and the target player draws X cards. So they'll probably get rid of us with that. As usual, is it wanting to get into the long game, and when they do get into the long game, you're pretty much done for. I think we've done pretty well though, considering how bad a deck this is. Taborax and Apostles, I mean it's way too slow for 1v1 really, it's just a fun idea that someone came up with, so decided to attempt it. I think we've done alright though. So what did our opponent do there? They just went for the explosion and dealt damage to us directly. So we'll say good game to them. And what were we drawing into there? Yeah, don't think we drew too incredibly well. Just got, I mean we're drawing lands now, look. Yeah, I mean there's not really all that much to draw other than the Apostles. Would have been nice for the Demonic Tutor to go through. But like I say, happy with how that performed there because it is just a janky Shadowborn Apostles deck. Be sure to let me know if you've got any ideas for this one or if you would like to see more of it. And if you want to help push the channel through to other potential viewers, then leave it a thumbs up and subscribe as well. I'm tribalkai on the EDH channel. Thank you for watching.